So as you're lying on the floor, you know, the floor is our way of making contact. And if you check out the spaces in your body that do not make contact directly with the floor, like under the space under your throat, under your neck, sense, and this is going to sound a little odd, but explore anyway. Sense the quality of the space behind your neck. And it only means what it means to you. It doesn't mean anything in particular. But the reason I am focusing on that right now, the space under your neck, for instance, if you focus on that, maybe something else is allowing you to sink a little deeper. And then if you have your hands by your arms by your side and the palms of your hands are touching the floor, then you might sense the space underneath your wrists. And you could compare the left wrist, the space of the left wrist that is making with the floor, and the right one. And usually there is a difference, even if it's slight. And if you have your legs stretched out, you might find a little space below your lumbar spine and sense the size of that, the volume. And also below your knees. And the space below your ankles. And now imagine all the space you have inside your body. Again, it might not make any sense, but just allow yourself to dream that, the space within your body. So we are programming our thinking for spaciousness, merging with space. And then when you're ready, bring your feet up to standing, any which way, and do it slowly so you know what initiates the movement, how you're dragging your heel up or you're lifting it until your foot comes to standing, left one and the right one. And again, we're going to practice the clock. Last week we sat on a chair to do that, and this time we're not using gravity so much. We're just allowing our knees to rest over our feet about a shoulder width apart. And then again, 6 o'clock is if you're tilting your pelvis down and you become a little hollow in your spine at 6 o'clock, and then going the opposite direction and pressing your lumbar spine into the ground a little bit. That's 12 o'clock. And just very slowly, doesn't matter how many of these you do, you go piano, piano, very slowly. And then you come to center. And then you can step a little bit into your right foot and roll your pelvis to the left. And that is 3 o'clock. And then you roll towards the center, letting the pressure of your right foot leave, and then putting the pressure a little bit into your left foot, stepping into that, and rolling to the right. And then rolling to the middle, and rest. So in our minds, we are now setting a preference for the slowness and the kind of quality of attention that we want to experience here. So no one is watching, no one is saying you got to do this way or that way or you have to do it faster, but rather you trust what your body needs right now. So rolling to 12 o'clock, rolling towards the center, and to 6 o'clock, and rolling to the center and resting. Establishing an intentionality of slowness. Okay, rolling to 3 o'clock, stepping into your right foot, rolling to 3 o'clock, rolling towards the center, letting the pressure go in your foot, putting the pressure into your left foot, stepping into it and rolling to 9 o'clock to the right. And rolling to the center and resting. And rolling to 12 o'clock. You don't have to make the clock big, it could be a very small clock. And to 1 o'clock. And then rolling that back to 12 and to 1 and to 12. Always arriving and then leaving again to 1 and to 12. And then resting in the center, rolling to the center. So what we're doing here is creating a connection to our thinking through movement. Creating connection of slow thinking and slow movement. Rolling to 12 o'clock, softly to 1 o'clock, and softly to 2 o'clock, and then going back to 1 and to 12, and back to the center. And rolling to 12 o'clock, softly, quality of softness like velvet, to 12 and to 3 and to 2 and to 1 and to 12 and back to the center. So we can play with the image that Judy suggested of being a wonderful, well-loved by the whole cosmos human being. Rolling to 12 o'clock, to 1, to 2, and to 3, and back to 2, to 1, to 12. So now we've familiarized ourselves, go back to the center, familiarized ourselves with that first quadrant. And now an experiment comes to mind. Let's do this again, but this time in your mind. Place Lynn's piece of paper under that quadrant. So you're touching not just the floor, but through the piece of paper you're touching the floor. And it may have a little crinkling sound, just in your mind. So roll it to 12 on the paper, to 1, to 2, and to 3. And from 3 on the paper to 2, to 1 and 12, and back to the center. So if we were to pull the paper out now, it would have some impressions of the weight of our body, crinkled it up. That's just to help us train our imagination a little bit. So move back to 12 and step into your right foot and move over to 1, softly, 2, 3, and we'll add 4, and then come back from 4 to 3 to 1 to 12 and center. And roll to 12, you go back to 4. So maybe you do it in your own space and time, rolling from 12 to 4 and back. And saying the numbers might be helpful. And then do it a couple of times. Same thing. From 12 to 4. And see how slowly you want to do this. And how precisely and easily anytime you want to rest in the center, it's great. And then sense when you do rest in the center, what's already happening. Okay, and together, let's go to 12. Stepping into your right foot, your whole foot, to 1, to 2, to 3, 4, and 5. And back from 5 to 4, to 3, to 2, to 1, to 12, and rest in the center. Some of the numbers are sometimes harder to differentiate because we often use our pelvis in a very stiff way. So that helps us to differentiate and create movement in the pelvis, which, as you can imagine, would enliven the energy of the first four chakras, which connects us through our biological family life and through our relationship life and through our emotional life, connects us to planet Earth and of course the body. And back to 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and going back in your own space and time from 6, the left half of your clock, towards 12. See if anything is happening in your head and neck. Don't make it happen, just watch it. Call out the numbers. When you arrive at 12, do it once again in your own time. Keep your hands soft. Noticing your breath. You don't have to make a change, just notice. And when you come to 12, stretch out and rest. And in your resting, you might notice some differences in the way your left side is resting versus your right. If you don't, there's no problem. And then imagine a loving hand, might be your own hand, guiding you from the top of your head and moving your head a little bit to the left, just a little bit. Rolling your head a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. And do that a couple of times. Just from the crown chakra area. That space is rolling your head. And when you're ready, come back to center. Soften your hands and give them as pudgy hands. So you can sense the volume, the volume and the space. And just know in the depths of your being that your thought processes are wisening through this experience. As we allow ourselves this time for deep rest, so many things are being reprogrammed that you don't have to worry about. And then let your knees float towards your ceiling, placing your feet on the floor. And again, placing them shoulder widths apart so that your knees are resting over your feet and you don't have to tighten in your groin area to keep the feet standing. And then once again, we are going towards 12, rolling the pelvis with both feet, stepping in, and then one foot takes over, you roll to the left to number 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and from 7 to 6, going back to 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, and 12, and 11, and back from 11 to 12, to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And from 8 to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, and center. And this time we start at 6, so roll to 6 and go to 7 to the right, to 8 and 9 and 9, 8 and 7 and 6. Lower quadrant, 6, 7, 8 and 9 and 8 and 7 and 6. And come to center and rest and stretch out. And roll your head just a little bit from left to right and right to left. And rest in the center. And bring your feet to standing again. Shoulder widths apart, rolling to 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 and 12. And rolling from 12 to 11, going to the right, to 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6. And back to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and center. Observe your breathing. Rolling slowly to 12. And clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and going back to 11, to the right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 12, and center. Now do it in your own time, once clockwise and once anti-clockwise, and then we'll be done. So go very slowly. Call out the numbers. And whenever you're done, stretch out and rest. And now sense the quality of contact your body is making with the floor. And just allow one expansive thought to drift in. Or it could be a thought about nothing. And the earth is now your friend, and your body is befriending the earth. And here we are, all together on Mother Earth. And slowly, when you're ready, roll over and come to sitting. And sense how you're sitting. And just let that uprightness settle in. And as you open now your eyes and you look around, sense the shapes and the colors and the images floating towards you. eyes are resting softly in your sockets, and they don't have to do a thing for colors and shapes and forms to arrive. So no effort is needed to see and perceive and to be with yourself. So I know we've come to the end of our time here today, but maybe just have one word to bring it back into some kind of verbal image. Just a word or a sentence, whatever. What are you experiencing or feeling?
Expansive.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Expansive.
Expansive.
So if you're feeling expansive, I imagine that will influence your thinking into expansive thinking. And then more things are possible. And the probabilities of your life that always are sort of floating out there will come close. And then from there you can just pick.
Connected.
Connected.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Peaceful.
Peaceful.
Spacious.
Spacious.
Open.
Open. And I feel settled. So this is, I promise you, in this course we're also going to deal with the money energy of money. So all of this is in preparation, because money is often a trigger, and it's one of the way of our forms and how we exchange with ideas with ourselves and with other people, and then it becomes a thing, a material entity. So the first step is to create spaciousness, so that the old traditional programmed ideas about money can be expanded upon. And just like our thinking right now, where the images are floating towards our eyes, and so we are having to go out to grab it, it's just naturally happening. The same thing, we're creating this invitational field for whatever, whether it's a horse or a pile of money, it doesn't matter. It'll come towards us. So let's experiment this week with slowing down and see what that feels like. So we can reframe our way of being in the world. Thank you so much. I love this group.
Thank you, Uta.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
And blessings to Kali, who I'm sure has gone off into her world of teenagers and
That'd be wonderful to hear what she's
etc.
doing.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.